Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kevin Soto, digital analyst and your host for today. We at Atrom are committed to doing our part in supporting the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Atrom has adopted 3 out of the 17 SDGs, namely health and wellness, education, and climate change, aiming to make a positive impact on society and the environment. To show our support for these goals even further, we are bringing you this webinar to better understand mental health issues in the new normal. So for those who would regularly attend our webinars, you would know that this is actually somewhat a step away from our usual topic revolving around investing, no? So guys, break muna tayo from the usual topics we talk about like market outlook, investment tips, or what new funds we offer, and let's tackle a really important issue for all of us. That's why I'm very excited about today's session because whether you're actually into investing or not, it doesn't matter. This webinar is for each and every one of us. Today's uncertain environment has been nothing but tough on us mentally, and we probably don't talk about it enough. The pandemic and the resulting economic downturn have negatively affected each and everyone's mental health and created new barriers for those who have long been suffering from it. Taking care of our mental well being is always important, but doing so in the midst of a pandemic can be quite tricky. Stay tuned to learn new tips and techniques to help you get through this seemingly new reality. If you have any questions, you may send them as early as now by clicking on the Q&A button below your screen. Before we begin, I'd like to let you know that this session will be recorded and that copies will be disseminated within the day, as well as posted on all our social media platforms. Also, please don't forget to visit our website, that's www.atrom.com.ph, for more detailed information about all the funds that we offer. If you have any friends who you think would like this webinar but are unable to attend, feel free to share the YouTube replay of this session and visit our YouTube channel, Atrom Studios. We would also like to invite you to join Atrom's official Viber community group, that's hashtag AtromPHCommunity, to stay updated on the latest announcements, advisories, and reminders. Scan the QR code or visit the link on your screen and get a chance to win Atrom merchandise. Also, we would like this webinar to be as interactive as possible, so please don't hesitate to send your questions in the Q&A tab all throughout the webinar. Each question you send is actually a raffle entry for a chance to win an Atrom merchandise. Winners will be announced at the end of the webinar, so make sure you stay until the end. We will also be wrapping our session today and how we can further improve our webinar series. Today's speaker is Dr. Jannel Gatlabayan-Cleto. She is the head of the section of Consultation Liaison Psychiatry at the Department of Psychiatry of the Medical City and has earned her qualified teacher certification in mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy from the Center of Mindfulness at the University of Massachusetts Medical School and Center for Mindfulness Studies in Toronto, Canada, respectively. Dr. Janelle is also a fellow of the Welfare Committee. So guys, with her caliber and distinction, there could not be a better individual to join us today and discuss a topic like mental wellness. So now, let us welcome Dr. Jannel Gatlabayan-Cleto. Hi, Doctora. Good morning. How are you doing today?
And good morning, Kevin, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for being here today.
Doc, medyo na-curious lang ako no, about your background, and I'm sure our audience are also wondering. Can you tell us more about consultation liaison
Oh, thank you for
psychiatry?
that question, Kevin. Nowadays, psychiatry is already expanding. No, there is a branch of psychiatry called consultation liaison psychiatry, and this is specialized for patients, medical patients, surgical patients who would need psychiatric support or even management. Marami na ding branches ng psychiatry, meron na ding addiction psychiatry, and even child and adolescent psychiatry.
Right. Doctor, follow-up question lang. No? For our audience benefit, I also want to ask, how long have you been practicing psychiatry?
Okay. Medyo baka mahalata yung age ko, Kevin. I've been practicing for a decade now, so 10 years.
A decade na, no? 10 years ago, my biggest problem was choosing what course I'll be taking for college. So it's been a lengthy time na, Doc, and I'm sure you've seen the difference between the mental wellness of individuals, comparing it to how people are now during the pandemic and how we were before any of these happened, no? Doc, I've read also in some articles, no, once the pandemic is over, the next problem we would have to face is mental wellness. So it's really an important issue.
Yeah.
So I won't hold you any further kasi kahit ako, I'm very excited to listen to your discussion already. So Doc, take the floor and let's shed some light on this important issue.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. So I'm just going to share my slides. Okay, I hope you're able to see them. Okay, there. So thank you for your kind introduction, Kevin, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for your presence here. And thank you to Atram for inviting me to give this very relevant talk. Coping with stress and caring for mental health in today's uncertain environment. So it has already been more than a year into this pandemic, and we have had surges and multiple lockdowns. This is a very good description of what is going on. The COVID-19 pandemic is a perfect storm of stressors. So much crisis and loss, disruptions in many aspects of our lives, and the multi-stress challenges are still evolving until now. It is therefore expected that people are already feeling the what we call pandemic fatigue. Many are demotivated to engage in protection behavior, sawana, or even sawana in terms of information seeking, sawana makinig sa radyo or makinig sa TV, no, about news regarding COVID, leading to complacency, and some even the feelings of hopelessness, parang walang pag-asa for others, no? So here are some factors associated with more adverse mental health in Filipinos. So this is based on our research. Many of our students, our young ones, are the ones really suffering. They're struggling with the online classes and with no choice but to socialize virtually with their classmates. Those who also spend excessively long and daily periods of time listening or reading up on news about COVID are more likely to have anxiety. So there's, I think, as too much information for some, as well as those who constantly worry about their family members contracting COVID and the feeling of helplessness, lalo na dun sa ating mga kapamilya na ayaw sumunod, lagi tayo nag-worry sa kanila. Even in the Philippine economy, of course, no, we have suffered the brunt of COVID. Unemployment moderated to 8.7% in October 2020 from a high of 17.7% in April of last year. And this was during the strictest period of lockdown. We had in the past 84 consecutive quarters of growth in the Philippine economy, but suddenly it contracted in the first 3 quarters of 2020. So the Philippine economy was really affected. Understandably, many people have been emotionally affected. And from this study, so we have in here a local researcher, Dr. Joseph Anlacam, almost 17% of those who participated in this study, so these are Filipinos, they reported moderate to severe depressive symptoms, while 28% reported moderate to severe anxiety levels. Aside from this, substance use is most likely on the rise, since alcohol and non-prescription drugs are a form of coping for those prone to addiction. Those with previously diagnosed mental illness has the risk of relapsing. And since schools are physically closed, there is the real possibility of increasing child and domestic violence or abuse. So armed with this information, we realized the importance of discussing about mental health during this pandemic. Financial stability will be nothing if we don't have mental health. As one of the richest men, Warren Buffett, implied, if you will be given a brand new car, but it would be the last car you're ever going to get in your life, it's got to last a lifetime. And he is referring to what else? Our mind and body. You only get one mind and body. How are you going to take care of them? So mental health sounds so elusive, and it is often only thought about when we're not feeling mentally healthy. As WHO describes mental health, it is a state of well-being in which we can realize our potential and cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and make a contribution to our community. So, do you feel mentally healthy? Hopefully, most of the time. Okay. So, obviously, rare is the individual who is in this complete state of mental health every day, since there will be times when we are in optimal performance. But there will be days when we will be feeling fatigued, exhausted, and have that certain feeling that our stress is already affecting our mental health or even our physical health, and that we're at the brink of burning out. So we actually see that daily our mental health fluctuates. So this is a simple mental health pain scale that we can use to just measure our calmness or our distress daily. Level 1, which is the green phase, means everything is a-okay. Starting at level 4, as you can see, it's turning yellow. You might be having a bad day, and you certainly need to be aware of the need to take care of yourself. At level 7, you're already avoiding things that make you more distressed, and you feel that you might already be needing help. Of course, level 10, which is the reddest phase, is the worst mental and emotional distress possible, and you're already in an emergency crisis. So what does these coloring remind you of? Okay, I hope it reminds you of the traffic light. Green for go, yellow for warning, and red for stop. So this is a useful strategy for us to be more mindful of how we're mentally doing daily. Okay, so try to see what is your number for today. So this is a useful chart explaining the mental health continuum: healthy, reacting, injured, and ill, based on your mood, attitude, sleep, physical health, activity, and the tendency to go for unhelpful habits. Let's pay more attention to the yellow and orange columns, the reacting and injured, since these bridges the healthy to the ill. And these are when we are reminded to take care of ourselves before we slip into the red zone. Unless you're a naturally irritable or angry person, these are when you feel that you're not being your usual self anymore, and there's that feeling of not being in control of your mood and your attitude. Sleep is definitely disturbed, and your body is already making its age felt with increasing aches, pain, and fatigue. You're already decreasing your activity. You're socially withdrawing or avoiding work or even the usual activities that you do. So I hope this is helpful, this mental health continuum. So here are the actions to take at each phase of the continuum. For the reacting, recognizing your limits, minimizing stressors, of course, only if possible, engaging in healthy coping strategies and paying attention to your physical health will hopefully prevent you from transitioning to the injured category. And there is already significant functional impairment. Starting from here, you will definitely need social support, or you will also benefit from professional care before your functional impairments become more severe and persistent. So don't wait until you go to the red zone already or the ill, okay? Because it will be really harder for you to recover. Try as much as possible to be aware if you're already in the yellow, the reacting, or the orange, the injured zone. Okay. Now, I'd like to introduce you to the new terminologies becoming popular in this pandemic. The New York Times posted an article entitled, "There's a Name for the Blah You're Feeling." It's called languishing. It is the neglected middle child of mental health. It may be the dominant emotion of 2021 due to the emotional long haul of the pandemic. It is not burnout, we still have energy. It isn't depression because we don't feel hopeless. It is a sense of stagnation and emptiness, the void between depression and flourishing. It dulls motivation, disrupts ability to focus, and triples the odds that you'll cut back on work. So people who may be languishing today may be experiencing depression and anxiety in the next decade. So knowing about languishing helps, and adding it to your lexicon helps because you may be able to notice it when you feel let down, especially, for example, if you take some short walks, if you're able to, and you don't feel as revived after the walk. It may be in your kid's voice when asked, how is online school going? It's the meh that you hear from the Simpsons whenever they have that feeling of lifelessness or don't care. I don't know if you're a fan of the Simpsons, but you can hear that there. I'd like to think of it as being in the yellow or the orange zone most of the time, and not experiencing the lightness and energy of the green zone frequently. So this is the opposite of languishing, or what we call flourishing. So this is also from the New York Times. The other side of languishing is flourishing. Okay, and for me, I think it's being often in the green zone with high levels of well-being, and you know that you're functioning well psychologically and socially. Okay. Another new term nowadays is what we call revenge bedtime procrastination. Wow, what a term. And I will not attempt to enunciate this in Chinese. Okay, so hindi ko yan mabigkas in Chinese. It's when people don't have much control over their daytime life, and they refuse to sleep early in order to regain some sense of freedom during late night hours. For example, after work, before going to bed, some people would binge on watching a movie on Netflix or a series on Netflix. For those who like online games, pupunta na yan dun sa kanilang mga computers, no? Or some would prefer to finish a book. Okay, so of course, if you try to delay sleep and go for these activities instead of resting, there will be the possibility of sleep deprivation. Okay, but there are some people who choose to be sleep deprived, no, rather than to rest, since they feel that they need this time for them to be away from the pressures of work. Okay, so failure to detach themselves from work can lead to stress, reduce well-being, and even burnout. Okay, so in a way, that's why it's called revenge bedtime procrastination. You procrastinate before you go to bed. Okay. Yeah, so however, in this pandemic, we know that companies have implemented work from home policies. So this introduces greater flexibility into our working lives. However, it also blurs the boundaries between work and home. There are many who work at home, even in their bedrooms. Sabi nila, it's the only place that they can work, but it's of course the place where we sleep. So it is wise for companies to review the impact of this work from home on the workers, especially since we are not certain how long this pandemic will really last. There is also that possibility that this might even be the new norm for some companies. So it's important for these companies to review how this affects productivity and especially employee turnovers. Okay. Of course, there is no choice for many to implement remote work. Okay, but at least we know that this really give more stress to people. And again, the explanations are the lack of boundaries between work and home. And work hours may even be indefinite. Nasa bahay ka, yes, but your boss doesn't know what you're doing. So, hindi nila sometimes na nakikita or nare-respect yung boundaries, no, na tapos na ang trabaho. Okay. Since family and work are both important, it may be confusing to know if you need to help your child reach for the cereal in the cabinet for breakfast or if you need to attend to your boss's early meetings. So talagang nagkakaroon ng blurring of boundaries. And of course, with being at home, too many distractions can lead to lack of focus. There is also the constant stress of the mobile devices. Maraming nagte-text, maraming nagko-call, and many of us are developing, for some, it's called Zoom fatigue. Okay. Our previous ways of coping, such as traveling, window shopping, and seeing friends face-to-face, have also been difficult, if not impossible. Okay. So another new terminologies in this pandemic, corosomnia, or COVIDsomnia. So this is insomnia during COVID time. Since daily routines and loss of external cues have disrupted our circadian rhythm, it's hard to sleep for many. So even less exercise and less exposure to natural light can also affect our sleep. So ayan, may bago na tayong terminologies. Okay. Mabilis lang, I'd also like to review what we call burnout. Okay, and this is what we call maybe being in the orange zone. You're already feeling injured. And this includes emotional exhaustion, feeling that you're no longer able to give at the psychological level, depersonalization, or you're feeling emotionally numb or unfeeling towards others. Parang there's that feeling of I don't care anymore. Okay, and the reduced feelings of competence at work or reduce in personal accomplishment. Okay, so these are the symptoms of burnout. And when burning out, there's really already negative attitudes towards self and others. And of course, that feeling of helplessness. At its peak, it can lead to depression, a mental health condition that we emphasize is not social and functional weakness. It is truly a medical disorder. So again, I repeat, depression is a medical disorder. Since psychiatrists are certified doctors who treat depression. It is no different from medical conditions such as hypertension and diabetes. So this is the patient health questionnaire. You can see this even in Google. You can Google this. And psychiatrists and researchers often use this to measure depressive symptoms. So you can try to answer this, and the cutoff is 10. Okay. So aside from depression, anxiety disorders are also part of the red zone. Anxiety is a normal reaction, but when it is already difficult to control, subjectively distressing, and is already affecting your work and life, it is already a condition that needs to be treated. Okay? Especially nowadays, anxiety can also be contagious. Nakakahawa din yung anxiety. Pag meron kang kasama sa bahay na anxious, parang ikaw na anxious na din. Especially since we are living in uncertain times. So here is the GAD-7. Again, you can Google this, no? Very much available. This is to gauge whether you have what we call generalized anxiety disorder or excessive worrying. Ito yung sobra ng laging anxious, on edge, hindi mo na ma-stop yung worrying mo to the point that you can't sleep, you have trouble relaxing, irritable ka na, and you have that feeling that anytime something bad might happen. Okay, so again, the cutoff is 10. Okay. So going back to the mental health continuum, we need to take action so that we won't progress to the red zone or the ill zone. Okay? Para yung anger. When you get there or when you become very, very angry, it's hard to bring down the anger. Pag pagalit ka pa lang, medyo lumayo ka na, or else medyo try to stop yourself na. Okay? Or control it. Kasi pag nag-burst out, naku, talagang mas mahirap. Ganon din. Kapag you go to the ill zone, it's harder to treat or it's harder to manage. So let's remember to ask ourselves, are we on the yellow zone? Okay? Are we in the warning zone? Kasi baka mapunta na tayo dun sa red. So definitely that will stop our lives. Okay? So as a friend, a colleague, or as an employer, we need to learn how to talk to people who are emotionally distressed. Okay? If we're not the ones who are in distress, we need to learn to listen mindfully, validate their difficulties, and activate psychosocial support. And it's also very important to gently evaluate if there is any risk of self-harm or the presence of alcohol or substance use disorder, and help the person get psychological help. Be knowledgeable about existing mental health services around you, whether it'll be guidance counselor from the school for your young ones, the HR or the psychologist, no, in the workplace, or even the psychiatric services. Nowadays, many are already doing teleconsultations. Most of the psychiatrists that I know are already doing teleconsult. I would also like to address the stigma of antidepressants, since these may be life-saving for many of our patients. It makes a difference in their lives, preventing them from letting go of their work, especially if they're the breadwinner, or even for a few, preventing them to take their own lives. There are many information available regarding antidepressants, but of course, that is another topic. It is a proven treatment, okay? And it is actually a maintenance medication for at least 6 months or longer. We also need to emphasize that alcohol is not the answer to insomnia and may even worsen sleep structure. It is also not the answer to depression and anxiety. Many don't know it, but it is actually a depressant. So alcohol addiction may lead to more depression and anxiety. In the beginning, we talked about how uncertain these times truly are. Nowadays, it is important to remind ourselves that we can only try to focus on things that are under our control, even when it comes to the economy or our finances. We need to also challenge our need for certainty, since uncertain times can also cultivate courage and bravery. The pandemic may also be teaching us, as it has taught our first ancestors, that we need to learn to better tolerate, even embrace, the inevitable uncertainty of life. Now, to prevent ending this talk too negatively, let's talk about another term very popular these days. It is called flow, and it can be the antidote to languishing. It is being absorbed in a meaningful challenge or a momentary bond where your sense of time, place, and self melts away. It has been the best predictor of well-being in this pandemic. It is finding new challenges, enjoyable experiences, and meaningful work, even when we are mostly at home. This calls for uninterrupted time for yourself or with significant others as you focus on small goals. This can be learning online, being a plantita, mastering Chinese checkers, doing pottery, or even taking care of a new dog. This helps us get to the zone of flourishing and helps fill us with more positive emotions, especially during these dreary days. Other tips on how to flourish is to savor tiny victories. Having a gratitude practice, for example, for each day, just try to find something that you're grateful for. No, some people even make this into a diary, and it can be as simple as I wake up, or I woke up this morning, okay? Or I had a nice cup of coffee. Doing good deeds for others, of course, sharing ourselves, our time, and of course, nowadays, many are suffering. So that feeling of meaning, no, into our existence is very important. Looking for communities, even if online, to find meaningful connection. For example, I don't know if there are some here who have maybe communities in terms of gardening. Okay, even kahit ako ay isang tita na, BTS fan ako. So, Titas of BTS, online community din yan. Okay, so it's very important for us to find meaningful connections. And some things to avoid the burnout, okay? One of these days, if you have time, maybe trying to just have some reflection, finding meaning in your work. How is this work relevant to not just me, but to other people, okay? Or even to the greater community, okay? So this might change your perspective on what you are doing. Okay? Incorporating a philosophy of work-life balance is very important. focusing on the important things in life, especially this pandemic might actually be helping us learn that we need to take life, no, maybe not to the point that's not so seriously as to enjoy it. Okay. And of course, if you're able to trust a colleague or someone that you feel will be able to listen to you, discussing things that you're stressed out about, okay? Even talking to someone really can help. And nowadays, for organizations, even for companies, promoting a non-punitive culture that promotes help seeking. Okay, since as you saw, many of our countrymen are suffering. Okay, many are having anxiety, depression, or just being very stressed out. So in companies, let's promote this non-punitive culture of being open, discussing about mental health, and even providing resources for our colleagues who might be needing it. Okay, and of course, let's assure them that these are confidential approaches for those who request support. This is especially helpful since the Mental Health Act, no, that is already signed, no, as a law, requires workplace policies and programs for implementing mental health in the workplace. Okay, so you can also try to review the document made by Department of Labor and Employment as the guidelines that they made for the implementation of mental health workplace policies and programs for the private sector. So I'm also a mindfulness teacher, so I'd like to share some things about mindfulness, okay? Since it can also help us cope in these times by finally realizing that we shouldn't always be living in our heads, in our thoughts, and every now and then trying to pay attention to the present moment using your senses. So these are the things I see, I feel, hear, smell, and taste in my present. So mindfulness includes being present with your food as you eat, not trying to text, no, or trying to watch movies or TV while you're eating. So be with your food and being with your breath. So if you can, try the mindfulness meditations. This includes mindfulness of breath, body scan, and even the 3-step breathing space. Okay. So every now and then, whatever you're doing, S, stop for a while. T, just take a deep breath. Okay. And O, observe. Observe what is going on outside me. How am I? What's going on inside me? What am I thinking of? How am I feeling? How's my body now? Okay. Only even for a short second or for a short time. And then just proceed. Okay. So these are your mindful stops for the day. Okay. You can also try to go online and just Google their mindfulness meditation. So this is something that you can try out for the medical city under the Center for Behavioral Health. You'll find my voice there. We have some meditations there that maybe you'd like to try. And even in Netflix, you can find meditation. You can look for Headspace Guide to Meditation there. Okay. So these are just some of my last slides. Because of what we're experiencing, all of the stress that we're experiencing right now, the buzzword is resilience. Okay, so this is the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or even significant sources of stress. So this is the resilience paradox. Suffering and thriving can coexist. Resilience is forged through suffering and setbacks. It involves struggling well and integrating painful loss experiences into our life passage. And resilience occurs gradually over time. If we are to be resilient, our families, communities, even the nation and the world will also benefit from this resilience. And nowadays, it's not just bouncing back, no, to how we were back then before the pandemic. In the midst of the changes that we're experiencing, bouncing back to where we were doesn't feel like an option. The opportunity is to bounce forward by applying a growth mindset to the new ways of working and living that we are experiencing. It is the ambition and objective of resilience that is changing. So it is no longer a recovery process, but for all of us, but a learning process. So it's not just bouncing back, but bouncing forward. Okay, so thank you very much for your kind attention, and that ends my lecture.
Thank you, Doctora, for that very enlightening presentation. No? Grabe. So as mentioned by Doctora, the pandemic has likely brought many challenges and many changes in our lives, and with it, uncertainty, right? So faced with new realities of altered daily routines, working from home, financial pressures, distance learning for children, and lack of physical contact with other family members, friends, and colleagues, it's important that we look after not only our physical, but as well as our mental health. Practicing self-care can help you and your family be better equipped to get through this time together. So at this point, we would like to move on to the live questions from our audience. So Doctora, we have several questions coming in. Are you ready?
Okay.
And
Go.
for the audience, just keep the questions coming in. Don't be shy. Doctora is here to help all of us, right? And she will entertain any questions that you have. Rest assured, we won't be mentioning any names, so we'll keep it confidential. So, guys, just send in your questions. The first question, Doctora, no, um, how do you know when you have too much anxiety, and how can you keep anxiety at a reasonable level?
Okay, so thank you very much for asking that question. No? As I said, many of our countrymen are suffering from anxiety right now. Anxiety is, sabi ko nga kanina, it's a natural response. No? It's normal for us to be anxious. Lalo na there are a lot of stress nowadays, a lot of uncertainty. Maybe it's already something different when you feel that parang anxiety is robbing you of quality of life already. Alam mo yung feeling na you can't sleep because you have too many things or worries in your mind? Okay lang yun kung for a couple of days. Paano kung weeks and months ka na hindi nakakatulog ng, properly? Mga siguro 4 or 5 hours ka lang, talagang mahihirapan ka niyan. Okay, so the anxiety is already affecting your physical health. Or nagkakaroon na ng panic attacks yung iba, yung parang palpitations, ng lalamig, can't even breathe. Okay, so ito yung parang ang taas na ng anxiety mo na naging panic attack. Okay, okay lang kung once or twice, pero how about kung 3 times a week na yan, twice a week, hindi ka na makalabas kapag wala kang kasama o hindi ka na makapag-drive ng kotse mo. So you know that anxiety is already becoming problematic if you're unable to do things that you usually do. If it's already affecting your physical health or it's already affecting even your family kasi very irritable ka na at nag-iiba na yung dynamics or even yung structure ng family dahil dun sa anxiety mo.
All right, thank you for that, Doctor. I guess a follow-up question to this is, what are the simple techniques that can help you manage your stress, especially financial stress?
Okay. Of course, with financial stress, involved din dyan ang anxiety eh. Okay? Alam mo, ang very important sa anxiety, ang main root of anxiety is actually that feeling of not being in control. So it's a lack of control. Okay? So kapag feeling mo hindi mo makontrol kung anong mangyayari sa finances mo, baka mawalan ng trabaho or else magkaroon na naman ng isa pang lockdown, kawawa na naman ng iyong business. Okay? A lot of feelings of being not in control, okay, will lead to anxiety. And the first step to that is just recognizing it. I'm getting anxious, meaning kinakabahan ako. And that's okay. Labeling it, even validating it, okay lang na maging anxious. Normal sa atin na kabahan. Okay? Pero not to the point that you forget that there are really things that are not under your control. Okay? So one tip is focus on what you can control. In fact, there's a prayer that I really love. It's called the Serenity Prayer. Okay? It's giving me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Okay? The serenity to accept the things that I can change. Ano pa ba yung next one? Parang the courage to accept the things I can change and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay? It's also having faith in a way. Okay? And at the same time, trusting yourself. Trusting that this is also building your resilience. Okay, and things also change. Sabi nga nila, di ba, the only constant thing in this world is change. So things can still change.
Right. Thank you for that, Doctora. Another interesting question, no? I guess you tackled this in your text, but how do you lessen your reliance on your psychotropic medications? And what are the books or resources that you can recommend that might be helpful to read?
Okay. Siguro in terms of what we call psychotropics, so ito yung mga antidepressants, ito yung mga pamparelax, okay? Even those that actually balance mood, okay? We only really use them if necessary. Ito na yung kapag nakaka-diagnose na tayo na talagang may depression, talagang may anxiety. Okay? For some who are really having a hard time, pwede namang magbigay ng trial. Maybe I can do it without medications. Baka makakope pa ako, especially if I do some changes or I make some changes regarding the stress, the sources of stress that I'm feeling. Pero as I said a while ago, if it's already a condition that needs to be treated, sabi ko nga, it's already affecting your health, affecting family, affecting your work. Please trust also that with medications, naku, napakalaki ng research about these medications, especially their safety and their effectivity. Okay, so if you really need it, huwag po kayong mahiya at huwag kayong matakot na mag-take. Lalo na kapag, yung sabi ko nga a while ago, it can also even be life-saving. Okay? Now, to lessen this, yung sabi ko kanina, yung be aware when you're already at the yellow or the orange zone. So dito, this is where self-awareness really plays a big part. Kung hindi ka self-aware, hindi mo malalaman that you're already breaking down. Okay? Of course, yung sabi ko, the need for also asking for help. Okay?
Right. In connection to that, Doctor, I guess another important question from our audience, right? So, when is the right time, ba, Doc, to know if you need if you need to seek a doctor's advice na, or what are the signs that you can tell us na kailangan na namin ng professional advice?
Okay. Siguro tanungin mo yung, bawa, kung ang lagi mo nakakausap, yung spouse mo, tanungin mo din sila, mukhang kailangan ko na din ba ng tulong? Just getting their opinions. Okay? It's not bad to go to a psychologist or psychiatrist, even if you're in the green zone, yellow, or the orange zone. Don't wait until you're at the red zone. In fact, there are some patients some people who go to me just to learn about mindfulness. Okay? Kasi they are aware that their capacity to cope will prevent them from breaking down. So in a way, preventive strategy na yun. Okay, so you don't have to go to us kapag sobrang ill na kayo or mentally, challenged na talaga kayo. Okay, or there are some people who, when they have something that they can't really settle in their minds, they just need to talk to someone. So a psychologist can also do that. Hindi naman laging pathological. Okay, pwede namang sa umpisa pa lang, trying to arm yourself with good coping strategies.
So preventive measures, no, bago pa lumala. Agree, Doctora. So, Doc, is it normal, especially in this time of working from home, is it normal to feel anxious about not doing enough? Or even if tingin mo naman, ang dami mo nang ginawa the whole day, syempre kapag working from home, is it normal na you feel like you're not doing as much as you think you should be doing?
Yes, that's very common, no? That's a common challenge in terms of remote work. Kasi pag nasa office, makikita mo talaga yung mga katabi mo, yung boss mo, 'di ba? Simultaneously ginagawa mo yung trabaho mo while interacting with others. So dito din papasok yung mga social cues. Halimbawa, nag-submit ka ng report, okay? Parang kahit pa paano madali kang puntahan ng boss mo at kausapin. Dito kasi madalas kapag nagmi-meeting, ang dami naka-close yung mga videos, parang nahihiyang magpakita ng mukha.
Agree, Doctora.
Yung reaction. Diba? And you need feedback. Feedback is very important for the quality of work that you do. Not just the quality, but also in increasing your confidence in your work. Okay? So, wala tayong magagawa kung hindi ka pwedeng pumunta ng office, pero some things, small things that we can do while you do meetings, mag-open kayo ng video. Okay? Of course, respect din yung not so ready video, not so ready faces kasi baka mamaya naka-pajamas and all. Okay? Pero we can increase social connection even with ito yung sa video, no? Just by seeing faces. That's the importance of seeing faces. And of course, yung sabi ko nga that environment of openness, okay? Especially open communication at this time. That's something that we need to promote.
Right, makes sense, no? Doctora, another question here. During this time, almost all of us are challenged, particularly in mental health and its related dimensions. So among the dimensions, in your current data, what seems to be on top, and how do we address it?
Can you repeat the question, Kevin?
Yeah, sorry. During this time, almost all of us are challenged, particularly on mental health and its related dimensions. So the question is, among all the dimensions in your current data, what seems to be on top and how do we address it?
Okay. I'm trying to understand the question if it's dimensions on mental health. So,
Yes, I
so
believe.
sa medyo vague yung when we call dimensions. Okay? Kasi with mental health, as I said earlier, pwedeng makita yan in terms of, di ba, yung mood, sleep, functioning, okay? Wala akong masabi na one is particularly above, no, the others. Kasi kahit ang sleep, sabihin natin medyo baka low siya, kung hindi ka nakakatulog, affected na lahat. Diba? Kung ang mood mo very low, how can you feel productive? So I think it's more of there's an interconnection with everything and everything is integrated together. That's why it's very important for us to be aware ano yung dimension na yon na kailangan kong bigyan ng pansin. Okay? For example, kung halimbawa you're really feeling down, alam mo yung mga times na parang ayoko nang gumalaw, masasakit katawan ko, ang dami kong nasa isip, alam mo, try mo kayang mag-exercise. Tingnan lang natin kung ano yung magiging feeling mo afterward. Kasi lagi tayong nakaupo nowadays. Okay?
Totoo.
Hindi din tayo nag-travel to work. So ano yung mga walks na ginagawa natin before? Saan napupunta yung energy na yun? Even physical exercise can actually help us feel better. No?
I agree, Doc. Sometimes when I'm feeling down, nagbabike lang ako for a while. Papawis lang ng onte, get my energy levels up. Kaya, really helps. So, next question natin medyo technical, no? So, I'm a health nurse and I have a patient here that I think is suffering of a panic attack. So, the question is, Doctor, how can I help ease the patient's panic attack?
Okay. So, ang panic attack, something to remember about that is mabilis lang naman talaga siya. Hindi siya yung all day. Okay? Parang usually yan, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, masyado nang mahaba ang 1 hour. So, lilipas din siya. So, ang important dyan, just making sure that the patient feels supported, nandun kayo. Okay? So, yung mga ginagawa natin pag may friend tayo na mukhang sobrang nag-hyperventilate. Okay? In terms of techniques that you can do, aside from the social support, hindi na masyadong uso ngayon yung brown bag. Alam mo yung parang may sandwich brown bag.
Yes, tapos humihinga ka doon.
Oo, for some that might work kasi nga may imbalance Masyado kang when you hyperventilate, okay? Parang hinga ka ng hinga pero hindi ka din naglalabas masyado ng carbon dioxide. Okay? So, parang nagkakaroon ng imbalance dun sa oxygen and carbon dioxide. So, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Siguro yung mga simple na mga medications for anxiety that you can give. Okay? Yung iba, nakakatulong sa kanila yung mga pang-allergies. Kahit Benadryl, pwede yun.
Talaga? That's interesting, Doctora.
Iterax ang dati ang hydroxyzine, pero allergy medication siya that has an indication for anxiety. Okay? Pwede din chamomile tea. Ito yung mga non-prescription medication that you can buy. Okay, and very important yan kasi wala tayo minsan mabigay. Pwedeng Benadryl din, minsan-minsan, or diphenhydramine. Pero if this is really a panic attack, what we usually give is what we call a benzodiazepine. Dito na nagfo-fall yung alprazolam, diazepam, and these are kasi prescription drugs na regulated. So not all doctors have the S2 license to give that kasi nga regulated medications. Pero yun kasi yung mabilis na magkakaroon ng effect. Now, if it's a panic attack, okay lang, paminsan-minsan. Pag panic disorder, paulit-ulit na panic attack, kailangan na niya ng gamot to really regulate that, meaning maintenance medication for 6 months or more. Antidepressant actually is the medication for panic disorder. Okay?
Right.
Sorry.
Thank you, Doctora. So, another question na you've tackled also in one of your slides. So, the pandemic and stress caused disruption in my sleep. How do I address this?
Okay. Punta muna tayo dun sa conservative. Ito yung mga things that you can do maybe to improve your sleep hygiene. Okay? For example, maybe having a more stable sleep schedule. Okay? So, dun sa mga nagre-revenge late bedtime procrastination, medyo lesson nyo na lang yon.
Actually, nakarelate ka sa Doctora.
Nakarelate. Ako din minsan nakaka-relate din eh. Kailangan mas maging disciplined ka, 'di ba? Okay lang kung maybe weekends o kaya once a week pwede mong gawin. Pero kung araw-araw mo na yung ginagawa, talagang physically your health will deteriorate. Okay, so try to reflect on your sleep schedule. Of course, the earlier the better, so that you'll wake up earlier. At the same time, limiting the stimulation before you go to bed. Okay? Yung parang wag nang masyadong manood ng news bago matulog. O kaya wag nang tumingin masyado sa Facebook kasi like yan eh. Naiiba yung circadian rhythm din natin because of the blue light. Avoiding caffeine, maybe past lunchtime. Okay, exercising can also help. So you'll feel that certain tiredness so that you can go to sleep. Okay, so ito yung mga sleep hygiene na sinasabi natin. Siguro more of relaxing music, drinking chamomile tea, avoiding talking to your spouse about your problems bago matulog. Yun lang. So tingnan nyo yung sleep hygiene ninyo. Kung kailangan nyo talaga ng gamot, yung sabi ko kanina, yung mga, mga allergy medications, magtanong din kayo kung ano pang ibang pwede. Pero tingnan nyo muna kung yung sleep problem nyo is might already be coming from depression or anxiety. Kasi sleep difficulties is a symptom of anxiety and depression.
Okay. Thank you for that, Doctora. So, next question naman is coming from a mom. So, do kids get depressed too? And what are the signs? And then a follow-up to that is, if signs are seen, how can we address it?
Okay. So thank you very much for that question kasi nga the young ones are the ones really affected during this time. Okay. Yes, unfortunately, kids can also be depressed. Okay. Siguro ito na yung mga past that age wherein mas complicated na yung thinking nila. Okay, pero pag 3 years old yan, syempre ang iniisip niyan laro. Okay, pero isipin nyo din, lalo na kung sa family nowadays, very stressed out ang parents, see how you can also affect the emotional health of your children if you yourselves are emotionally stressed out. So yun yung dynamics kasi ng family. Pero when I ask my colleagues na child and adolescent psychiatrists, yung iba yes, they do develop depression early. May mga nag-11 years old dyan, binibigyan na ng antidepressant. Meron kang maririnig dyan na 10 years old, already attempting to hurt herself, nagka-cut na yung iba. So medyo maaga ngayon. Siguro dahil sa, yun nga, not just the pressures of the pandemic, but even before, ang dami ng stress sa mga bata. No? Madami na in terms of perfectionism. Okay, madami na silang masyadong load sa school. Okay, high expectations, lalo na comparison with peers. So, if you're not very sure, halimbawa may nakikita ka ng nagkakaproblema na sa studies, o kaya lagi nang nagtatago sa room, hindi na kasama ang pamilya, okay? O kaya naman makikita mo na hindi na kumakain. So if you're very unsure, try to also just ask the opinion. You can ask a psychologist. You can start with the guidance counselor from school. Okay? Kung kailangan talagang i-treat, meron tayong child and adolescent psychiatrist.
All right, thank you for that, Doctora. So, next question. No? We have limited resources of psychiatrists in the country, psychiatrists like you, ma'am. And because of the pandemic, some are afraid to go out. Is there a way we can connect virtually for mental health to a professional?
Oh, okay. Do you know that there are only 604 psychiatrists in the country? Ganun kaming ka-limited, no? Kaya nga
Pera.
kaya nga kaya nga nagsisik na din kami talaga ng help from our psychologists kasi may mga times talaga na hindi na kaya ng mga psychiatrists. So kahit pa paano even psychologists, they do online teleconsult nowadays, and we're even encouraging our medical doctors kahit hindi sila psychiatrists on how to even prescribe the medications that we prescribe. Okay? Tumutulong na din po ang mga ibang sectors of society, lalo na for example, sa church. Alam natin, di ba, yung mga different parishes or even kahit anong in terms of more of church services that they offer. So medyo ngayon nagtutulungan na tayo.
Thank you, Doctora. Very interesting yung next question natin, very personal. And I hope you could answer this, Doctora. So my older brother suddenly changed in how he interacts with us and his family. How can you extend help to one member of your family who doesn't cooperate in speaking out or sharing their feelings to anyone?
Okay. Mahirap yan sagutin kasi every family is different. Okay? At the same time, we also don't know how much is your brother, tama ba brother, no?
Brother.
Brother open to actually talk to the family. Okay? Yung ibang, alam ko na mga pamilya, minsan it comes to even to the point na they talk to the friends, no? Kamusta ba kapag nag-uusap kayo? Nangangamusta lang ako tungkol sa kapatid ko. Para at least may makuha kang information that he would not normally really tell you. Okay? Kung merong trust in the family, hopefully he will be able to open up. But it can also take time. And in terms of listening to him, ito yung importance ng mindful listening. Okay? Hindi tayo judgmental kapag nag-listen. Lalo na may mga tendency tayo na pag feeling natin na de-depress, marami dyan yung automatic statements na kaya mo yan, tawag dito, what do you call that, lilipas din yan. Okay? O kaya naman, pray ka lang.
Actually, it's very common, Doc, for siguro yung mga the older generation na they dismiss depression talaga.
Or else, sasabihin ng magulang, bakit ako nung bata ako o nung
yes,
edad ako, hindi ako nade-depress. Kayang-kaya mo yan. Okay? So ito yung listening mindfully instead of everything coming from you. Sometimes, just talking about it, alam mo yun, encouraging na ano yung pinagdadaanan mo. Okay? Ano yung matutulong namin? Questions, not even statements. Okay? Doon makikita na na-validate yung kapamilya mo na kung ano yung nararamdaman niya is valid. Okay? It's not wrong. And it's something that you can also help with.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. I guess, Doc, we're down to our last question due to the limited time that we have.
Questions?
My parents quarrel a lot during this time. As much as I would like to assist them, I also feel like I'll absorb the negativity their quarrel brings. I also believe when flight attendants say, put your mask first before assisting others. So how will I act as a son towards this?
Oh, talaga, dito lumalabas yung sa pandemic na to since magkakasama tayo sa pamilya. Kung
Doon
okay
sa
ang
bahay lang
dynamic
buong
mo,
araw.
'di ba? Pero kung hindi, dito talaga nagsasuffer ang family, no? Maganda yung narinig ko sa na put your mask on first before you help others, okay? Siguro dito papasok yung even if alam mo yung tendency that we say, ako yung anak, dapat ako yung iniintindi nila. Okay? Pero again, these are extraordinary circumstances. Even if you're stressed out, most probably your parents are more stressed out, lalo na kung financially yan. Okay? So, lalo na ang dami ngayon hindi pwedeng makalabas ng ating mga seniors. Okay? Siguro dito pumapasok din yung compassion. Be compassionate to people who are being disagreeable, people who are having a hard time emotionally, kahit na fighting. Okay? Even if you say their parents, they should know how to treat each other or even how to not fight, they also have their own limitations. And again, lahat tayo parang talagang pinupush nitong pandemic na ito. Okay? So dito papasok yung understanding mo and your openness that there are also people who are struggling. Okay? Dito papasok yung whatever you can try to do just to ease no the stress that they're feeling. Maybe that's something you can do. Okay? Hindi ko sinasabing maging parental child ka at i-solve mo ang problems ng parents mo. Siguro in your own way, try to still thrive, no? Yun nga, parang self-care pa rin sa sarili mo para lang hindi ka din mag-add dun sa problems nila. Okay?
All right, thank you, Doctora. I think that's all the time we have for questions. So before you wrap up on your segment, Doctora, any last words to our audience?
Okay. So thank you very much, and I can see from your questions, mukhang marami talagang parang I raised more questions than answer. And I think that's one of the point of this talk for us to talk about mental health because of course your mental health matters. Let us be open to talk about it, no? Alisin natin yung stigma of talking about mental health. Kasi nga sabi nga ni Warren Buffett, this is the only mind and body that we have in this lifetime. So let's try to take care of it, okay? Or take care of our mind and body. Okay, so I wish everyone well and everyone take care. No? And I hope that you have kahit paano learned from this webinar.
Grabe, thank you so much, Doctora. This has been one important and very enlightening webinar. On behalf of our Atram team, we really appreciate the time that you gave for us. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate your presence. No?
Thank
So
you, Kevin. Thank you,
we hope
Atra.
to have you back in the future, Doctora. Thank you also to our audience for your active participation for the whole duration of the webinar. I hope you were able to gain insights and key takeaways from today's webinar. So these are challenging times for everybody. So remember to invest in yourself and carve a path to financial freedom so you can take on tomorrow amidst these trying times. Here's how you can start your investment journey today.
Hello. To open an account with Atram, just visit our website at www.atram.com.ph. Here, you can learn more about all the funds and services that we offer. Our site will then guide you to our online investment platform, Seedbox, where you can start investing for just 1,000 pesos. But if you have more questions, visit the website's frequently asked questions page or Atram Academy page. Thank you.
There you go. So if you have any further questions or would like to learn more about Atram, please visit our website www.atram.com.ph. In case you have not registered yet for our next webinar, watch Atram's very own DJ Desus as he is set to discuss the Atram Global Bond Income Feeder Fund. You may do so by scanning the QR code flashed on the screen, or you may also type the link found on the left side of your screen. Again, if you have any friends who you think would like this webinar but are unable to attend, feel free to share the YouTube replay of this session. Visit our YouTube channel, Atram Studios. Also, we'd like to invite you to join Atram's official Viber community group, that's hashtag AtramPH Community, to stay updated on the latest announcements, advisories, and reminders. Scan the QR code or visit this link found on your screen and get a chance to win Atram merchandise. Lastly, please answer the survey at the end of this webinar. We would love to know your thoughts on today's topic. On behalf of everyone at Atram, thank you again for your attendance and participation. We wish you and your loved ones continued health, safety, and mental wellness. Have a great day.